That should be, you could live there if you want, but you should be able to jump around and go into many, many, many different kinds of realities. And not to deify, to say that this world of human senses is the only reality. You should, and that is the reality. Then, when you start calling this world of the human senses the reality, then now you're a dangerous person. Because now you don't recognize the macrocosm, the microcosm. Okay, you don't recognize anything else.
Are your ideas going to make the world a better place?
Oh, yeah.
Is it going to be like less human beings and, keep the birth rate down so that the animals have a chance? And are people going to be just, and power structures are going to be decentralized so that nobody can kill anybody else and send people to war and stuff like that? Is those ideas going to bring us into a nicer place to live?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, because once you have the macrocosm and the microcosm in your consciousness, once you live with the universe, once you live with the smaller world, in the world of the atom, and they're there, you now see yourself as a part of everything, you see, okay? And it also makes you less violent.
You're on to something.
It makes you less violent. We have a caller. I'd like to speak to this caller, please. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I was just calling in. I had heard the first portion of your program, and I guess I just wanted to set something a little bit straight, because I know there's so much bad theology out there. A couple things that was said, like about the mistake of the faith, Christian faith, that to love your neighbor as yourself, it sort of puts you in a bind because you can't fulfill it and so forth. I think that just is really showing the realism of the Christian faith, because in effect, you're being told to be perfect. God is perfect. The point is that the point of the whole Christian message is that a person can't do it on his own. It's so realistic, it's so down to earth, that you're supposed to be able to see yourself for who you are, and that is someone who can't be perfect. So the idea of a personal quote-unquote Savior is not a hollow phrase.
I never heard that before.
What's that?
I was raised a Christian. I was never told that you are not ever able to love your neighbor as yourself. I was told that I had to be a great Christian. I had to love my neighbor as myself, and I just don't agree with that idea. And I was never taught what you said. Did you agree with what he said?
I did. But see, the basic Christian, classic Christian orthodoxy or whatever.
Reverend Schaef is here. Did you ever hear that before? He said it was impossible. He said that Christianity,
it's impossible to love.
Yeah, to love your neighbor as yourself.
They're perfect. I'm not saying that a person can't, from time to time, fulfill certain acts that are, and I think people do good acts of whatever mercy.
You mean nobody can be perfect?
See, all I'm saying is that you fall in, as the scriptures say, you fall in one part of the law, you fall in all of it. One little slip, and you're 100% guilty. So all I'm saying is, I think you're realistic to know that one bad thought, one bad action, one bad this is all it takes, and that's the realism of the Christian faith. So the fact of being a great Christian, or being, like when you said about you do good, you go to heaven, you do poorly, you go to hell, you're mediocre, you go in purgatory, that's so far from what the scriptures and what Christ even taught that it's barely worth discussion. I mean, the point is you can never do good enough to get to heaven. Everyone can do bad enough to not get to heaven, but no one can do good enough to get to heaven. That's the whole point of Christ.
This is what I'm finding is that when you are a little child or you're growing up and they're teaching you about Christianity, they tell you, well, these things are all truths, and then I find out that every person who calls himself a Christian has goes into his own little interpretation of what Christianity is. Christianity believes there is a God in heaven. If you're bad, you go to hell. God knows your name. I mean, this is the Christian vision of reality. Well, it's not a story. It's not what you want to make it. This is what they say, okay? And this is what they teach. If you turn on every program on television, any Christian preacher will tell you that.
Not any Christian. See, all I can say is, let the scriptures speak, because Christ claimed to be the author of the scriptures, in effect. I mean, if representatively...
Christ condemned the Pharisees to hell,
What's that?
Christ sent the Pharisees to hell. He condemned them when they were. He was there. When they were attacking him.
Well, the whole point of the Christian faith is, first, it's covenantal. It's all representative. In Adam, all fell. That's a presupposition of the Christian faith. The humanists might say, in Christ you can de-evolve with Christ. You can be restored, the Christian would say, in the same way that Adam represented man in the fall. Christ represents man in being able to become back, or become what God intended.
So then,
Christ's righteousness. I'm not saying it has nothing to do with man, because at the same time the scriptures say, make your calling and election sure. Do the good things, but never lean on them as the entrance fee to get to heaven. It's like if I'm walking across Park Avenue and someone pushes me out of the way, and I go visit that and that person gets hit by a car. I go visit that person in the hospital. The motive is because the guy saved my life. I love him. If I have a rich uncle, who I despise, and I go visit him in the hospital, he's about to die or something, why am I doing it? Because I want the inheritance. It's a question of motive that you do the good things. And granted, I could never reach in my pocket and say, here, Jesus, here's all the good works I could ever do. Now let me in. See, that's the realism of the Christian faith. You say, he's God. He claimed to be God. He couldn't just be a good teacher, because no good teacher would say, give up your life for me if you lose your life for me.
are you a Christian?
Am I a Christian?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Do you believe that there is a God?
Yes.
Is this God in heaven?
Yes.
Does this God know your name?
Of course, yes. He knows every hair on your head. He knows every hair on every person's head.
All right. Now, if you're bad, are you going to go to hell?
If I'm bad,
Well, if you go out and kill somebody right now, will you go to hell?
see, you're talking in a hypothetical situation.
No, I'm asking you, are you part of what the Christianity, Judaism, and Mohammedanism teaches to its people?
I would say I have a classic, scriptural classic Christianity.
Do you believe in hell?
Oh, yes. Of course, Christ talked about hell more than anyone
That's
else.
what I said, yeah.
I mean, that's just it. Granted, it's not, I didn't come up with this. It's Christ's teachings, and that is one of the things that happens when you come to the faith. You have to, you're no longer trying to make it yourself. You're no longer trying to be the coach.
Well, this is where I totally reject all of this. Okay, first of all, I believe that you don't exist. I believe that you're not here, and so you can't die. Okay, and all right.
Well, if you see reality in that way, I wouldn't be surprised for you to say that. It's like I said before. There's covenantal. It's all covenantal in the fallen Adam. It's covenantal in the restoration in Christ.
Covenantal. What does that mean?
So that means a contract between us and God. You have an agreement.
It was made.
Well, you see,
let's strike a deal.
In my opinion, there is no us.
It just struck me. You're saying that we don't exist. It's like carrying individualism the next step further.
Say we don't exist.
Right.
That's what he said. Well,
I would. Could you?
in other words, our culture has atomized us to the point where every person is on his or her own, each against the other. It's individualism.
Radical.
This is not individualism.
Right. But you're carrying it another step further. Not only are we not individuals, we don't even exist. So it's like anti-communal, your philosophy. Whereas we live in community, we're born into community.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I have a piece of no border. I say, just be alone
You say
with the
we don't
universe.
even exist.
Just be alone with the... Well,
Right?
That's right. Well,
You're carrying individualism
listen,
to its
I'm
extreme.
trying to explain that all these atoms are changing. Well, every time I get into these conversations, people still drag me back, kicking and screaming, to the world of the human senses. That is that one reality. Why can't we go into the world of the atoms and stay down there for a while? Why do you? I always, no matter if I have an interview, if I have a conversation, I'm constantly being dragged back. I've established beforehand that I've rejected this world of the human sense, but I have to keep being dragged back. Keep dragging back. We've all been drummed down. We've been drummed in our heads from day one that we exist, that we have identity, that we are born, that we live, that we die, and it's a scientific fallacy.
How about this way of saying it? That we are lived. The world, Earth, the world, lives us. We're not individual beings, but the world throws up something that has a name, Copernicus, for a couple seconds, and then it goes back and it's into
It's not even a couple
oblivion
seconds.
again.
It's not even a couple seconds. There is
60, 70 years compared to 15 billion years. It's like an instant. It's an instant.
But that instant
for
is
an
not even
instance,
there.
there's
But excuse me, that
Copernicus.
instant is not even there. All right.
then
Thank you,
you're saying
caller. Our
time.
phone number is 212-279-3400. We have another caller. Hello.
Hi, you're talking about all this worlds of atoms. Don't you think there's enough problems in our world right here?
Oh my God! I mean, this is this is exactly what I'm rejecting. That you are considering the world of illusion as real, and you should not consider the world of illusion as real because it's an illusion. You're living in the world that only your human senses can perceive. That's only one reality in a trillion of realities. You are cheating yourself out of the trillions of other realities by deifying the only one little tiny reality that your senses can perceive.
No, you can't focus on millions and millions of realities. You have to find one. You have to... How can you be at peace with yourself when you can't find one reality, one thing to be true to yourself?
Well, you can do that, but don't. But have it in perspective. That's not the only reality. There's a billion other realities out there, and hopefully you have hope inside yourself that you may someday, through searching, encounter the absolute reality that explains everything. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
I can smell the wood burning.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. I was just calling because, first of all, I noticed that you said that in Judaism there's a concept of heaven and hell, and I don't think that's really true. I think that there was a dualism that was introduced into Christianity that kind of filtered in from the Persian concept of there being a force of good and a force of evil. I think that idea of heaven and hell is sort of unique to the Christian faith. But as to your idea about us not existing and us not being here and rejecting the world of the human senses, well, it may be true that we can transcend our senses, but that's all. Those are the tools that we have to work with. I mean, we've got our sight, our sound, our hearing, everything that we experience. When I hear you on the radio, when I talk to you on the phone, all I can do is use those senses. I mean, it's good to talk about the subatomic world, but we can't even conceive of it. I mean...
What do you mean you can't conceive of it?
I mean, for example,
Of course you can conceive of it. We can photograph it.
Yeah, but an electron is neither...
No, an atom.
Even smaller than an atom. An electron is neither matter nor energy. You can't even conceive of it because it's not there. It's there, but it's not there, you know? And we ourselves are like, it's like saying that a house doesn't exist because it's built of bricks. I mean, we are created by these atoms, these electrons. They're what make us who we are. We function in this world of the senses because that's all we have to exist with.
Yeah, but it's my point is that these atoms are moving around so fast that there is no one point where they stop and say, here you are. You are never there.
Yeah, that may be true, but the point is that they
if it's true, then you should accept it and start thinking about it and applying it to your head, huh?
No, because they combine to form your brain. You have memories.
Yeah, but that brain is in constant change.
That's true, but everything is in constant change.
That's right. That's true. Now we're starting to agree.
I know. I'm saying I agree with you that everything is in constant flux, but the point is that in their flux and in their change, they form patterns, and that out of those patterns...
No, they don't form anything. They're a chaos. They never form anything. That's the problem, or that's the beauty.
But what about the matter that you exist in?
There is no matter. Everything is in change.
But when you
it's in forever change, huh?
No, because when you touch something, when you hear something, it's there.
You can never touch anything because you're not here and there is nothing there to touch.
Yeah, it's very well to deconstruct all of existence, but the fact remains that we're here and we can feel and hear and see and talk and
No, you're
communicate
not
right
here,
now.
sir. You're not here.
But I can hear you, right?
No, you cannot hear me because you're not there and I'm not here.
Yeah, but you're just rejecting your own existence.
I can't reject anything.
So then why...
I'm not here.
So if you're not here, then how are your ideas valid if you don't even exist to back them
I
up?
don't. What's going on here is the spontaneous expression of all of these atoms that are somehow coming together and producing all of this.
Exactly.
All this,
And my
whatever.
spontaneous expressions of atoms are saying basically that you can't defend your ideas because you don't even exist.
That's right.
So how can you even go on saying that you have these ideas and how we can experience the world of the senses? If I had eyes that could see atoms, if I had fingers that could touch these multitudes of atoms,
right.
If I could fly around and experience millions of realities, I would love to do so, but I'm grounded in this
No,
reality.
you have a mind. You can do it with your mind.
But how can you do that? Is there a method?
With your mind.
You imagined it.
Your mind is your tool.
That's right, but your mind doesn't exist according to you because your mind is just atoms.
Yeah, but if the spontaneous being of your mind calls for you to do that, it can be done.
Yeah,
But if it's not there, you can't force it.
But how do you know that everything is spontaneous? How do you know things don't move in patterns? How do you know there's not some plan, some orchestration?
From?
I don't know, from anything. I'm not saying that there is any creator.
We're delving and searching for that orchestration and saying that we are actually searching for this thing called absolute reality. But in the meantime, we cannot be deifying the world that our senses bring to us and say that this is the only reality when there are billions of realities out there.
I'm all in favor of experiencing a multitude of realities, but I think that we as humans live a life that's linear in that I know you
You might live a life that's linear. I don't live a life that's
linear. Well, I know you
linear.
reject the concept of birth and death and
That's
life
right.
and whatever, but I assume you eat in the morning and you have natural functions that you go through, and you may not deny your existence, but you still have to do them in order to if you stopped eating, those atoms that maintain you you wouldn't be able to talk to me. You wouldn't be able to communicate with me. If you cut out your tongue, you would lose that aspect of your senses. And your senses are the only way you can, even if there are billions of other realities out there certainly is the world of the senses, because we're using it right now as we speak. And you have to admit that world does exist.
Well, we did say that is one particular reality, right? But don't say that it exists. Because it doesn't, in the absolute terms, it doesn't exist because it's in constant flux. But in the world of illusion, you might say, in the world of illusion it exists because, well, you can't really see the real thing. And so we all make this compromise and say, seeing is believing. I touch you, therefore you are here. I think, therefore I am. All these jerky little elementary expressions. But in reality, the reality of the situation is the atomic flux does not permit it to exist.
Well, I mean,
what I hear Copernicus saying,
Reverend Schaef.
what I hear Copernicus saying, besides the fact that we are not connected, nothing is connected, we're not in communion or community. I lost my thought, but that's the first thing that you're saying. You're radically disavowing connection.
No, I'm not. Let everything be what it is. I'm not disavowing
the second thing is you're radically disavowing any sense of freedom. We are...
On the contrary, this frees you from all of the
lived.
junk that society
The
produces.
universe
Oh, because if you're not anything, you have no freedom at all.
No, you are free at every to be at
You're
every
just
spontaneous.
swirling particles and atoms and electrons and neutrons, and you don't even exist. You don't have any freedom. You're just spontaneous. You're spontaneous path.
That's the beauty of life.
Why
The
is it-
spontaneity of life. To be what you are at every moment. That's the ultimate freedom.
Yeah, but you're not where you are at any minute because
Why?
you are.
Not what I am at every moment? Of course I am.
Even as we speak, are you experiencing all these other realities? And how do you experience them? And can you even relate
All of
them?
the other reality? No, what I'm concerned with is actually what I call being. Being the free expression of what I am at every moment. That is what will make life wonderful, exciting. It's people who have all of these exterior forces on them, outside of them, controlling them, and not letting their true power come and be expressed.
Well, Copernicus, when the police bang on your door and walk in your room and haul you off because you said something they don't like, you're losing your spontaneity. You're living in a world which does not allow you to be spontaneous, right?
No, you're
Or are
wrong.
you saying
There is a story, a short story
Even
about
if the police
prisoner
are
of
leading you
Chillon.
away, you can still be spontaneous. Is that what you're saying?
There was a story of the prisoner of Chillon. He was a political prisoner in a French jail for 30 years. And at the end, the king died, and somebody else came over, and they came to his prison, and they opened up the thing. Okay, you're free now. And he looked at them, and he laughed at them. He wasn't free. He didn't need to walk out of a prison to be
All right,
free.
I can see that too.
Yeah. No, but I mean, basically, what it all goes down to is that even though you reject this world of the senses in favor of the brilliant world of particles and atoms and whatever, the fact remains is that you are still influenced by that world of the senses.
No, I didn't. Excuse me. You're misinterpreting what a lot of people do. I did not reject the world of the senses. I'm saying, for the purposes of understanding what is real, you must put the world of the senses in its proper place. That recognize that. See, humanity has lived from day one saying that what their senses perceive is real, and that is the only reality. But you can use your senses, but you must recognize that there are many other realities, and just keep things in perspective. So I don't reject them. I reject them for the purpose of saying that this is the absolute reality and there is nothing else. Just be conscious of that. There are many other realities.
Well, how do you propose that we get? I mean, for me, for example, I've
Yes.
never considered. I've thought of other planes of existence, other methods of, the subatomic world and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But how would I go about basically encountering acquiring that sort of knowledge, basically?
Well, I mean, we have our scientists discovering incredible things, and you should just keep up with their discoveries. You see, our scientists are great discoveries of things, but they're very poor communicators. That's why guys like me are around. I'm a communicator. I'm not a discoverer of great scientific facts. I take these facts and I put them together, and I try to communicate what vision I have as a result of what these scientists find. And you do the same, but you have to think for yourself. That's more important. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Your mind is great.
Does Copernicus think that existence is meaningful and it makes sense, or is that a category?
There is no such thing as existence.
Well,
You're dragging me back?
Yeah, but don't you,
I see.
in the world of the senses,
Do you think that-
say you can have something such as existence?
As long as you recognize that it's an illusion.
Well, but still,
No, but
I'm
let's
not
not get,
saying
Unless you want to deify that, unless you consciously want to deify the world of illusion, say I don't care about anything else, and this is what I want, and I want to live there, and that's your spontaneous choice. Go for it. I feel sorry for you, but go for it. You're just cheating yourself.
I just mean is that I think that you said that you should accept the world of the senses. Even though you should accept it, but know that there's other things out there.
Right.
But you have to realize that in the world of the senses, there is such a thing as existence because you sense it. You see. Like right now, I can sense your existence, and I know that only exists in the world of the senses. But you just said that's a valid world, so you do exist. You may not exist in all those in the subatomic world, but in the world of the senses, you exist because I can hear you, talk to you.
Well, you really can't hear me because you're not there, and I'm not here.
Oh, sure. On other levels, I'm not there at all. I'm swirling atoms and electrons. But in the world of the senses, I can hear you. That world that you admitted it existed.
that's an easy way to win an argument.
Well, no, the world of the senses may not be the most important world. It may be the least important world, but you've admitted its existence, and I can sense you. So in the world of the senses, you do exist.
I don't think this conversation is going to lead us into the 21st century.
Well, I think everyone has to find their own way.
But this is where it ends up a lot.
Everyone has to find their own way. You can't deconstruct. You can deconstruct yourself into nothing, and that's fine. And if that's your choice, that's good. But I think that in a way it's sort of copping out from dealing with all the other people around us. If you make yourself nothing, then you don't have to worry about the guy on the street or whatever. In this world of the senses that most of us live in, and most of us interact in every day, we see what's happening. We feel what's happening.
Do you
We
think
can't
that
always
I worry
be in
about
this.
the guy on the street?
And so.
Do you think that I worry about the guy on the street?
Well, of course
Well, do
not,
you?
because there's all that other stuff out there. But nevertheless,
No, but you think
I
that
value the world of the senses.
Do you
I
think
find
that I
it's been an
personally
enriching
worry about
experience for me.
Do you think
I
that
don't want it taken away from me by being shot in the head.
Do you think that I personally worry about the guy on the street?
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know if you personally are about the guy
What do
on
you
the
think?
street.
So what do you think from what little that you've heard?
Well, what I think is that you feel that you've experienced this much greater reality, a reality of what makes us up, that we're just swirling atoms, and this is much more powerful than this sort of puny existence that we lead of seeing and feeling and hearing and quantifying and qualifying and deifying. But my point is that you may grasp this, and other people may grasp this, but not everyone does. And you're even forced to communicate this message through the world of the senses over the radio. So what I'm trying to say is that all these people are out there living in this world of the senses, so don't you have to recognize that as a viable thing, something you have to interact within? It would be great if we could all move on to this higher plane of existence, but the world of the senses is around us. It's what we're communicating in right now. You have to recognize that you exist within that world of the senses.
Well, I don't have to do that, and
You don't
I
have
don't.
to, but
I don't, and I feel sorry for
consistent
people.
with your argument.
I feel sorry for people who do, and I'm trying to free them of it. There's nothing wrong in eating breakfast in the morning, or there's nothing wrong, but as long as you recognize that there is this atomic change going on. Thank you.
Sure.